every Tuesday evening with something that at least we think is of community interest and or of some concern. And if you think that you have something which fits into that category, you'd like to find out how you can be a part of the program, well, why don't you drop us a line, address it to a Let's Talk program in care of Vaughan Radio, PO Box 195 in Charlestown in Nevis, or give us a call. Our numbers are 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. And by the way, those will be the numbers you'll use to be a part of this evening's discussion. Again, thank you all very much for joining us. This is your voice in the community, thought that get results. With regard to your participation in the show, we encourage you to call in on the numbers listed, 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. Here's a suggestion. You got a question or a comment, perhaps you can get a pencil, piece of paper, write it down so that you're well organized. And when you're getting on the show, you take as little time as possible so that we can accommodate as many of you as we can. We ask only, first of all, you respect yourselves and then respect others, because we will not accept anything we deem that's not within our broadcast standards. But we encourage you to always be forthful with your point. Again, thank you all very much for joining us. This is your voice in the community, thought that get results. Tonight, this week has been celebrated as Cooperative Credit Union Week, and the day is Thursday, the 21st. And so, against that backdrop, we will be speaking with some of the folks who are involved in credit unions, both here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and we'll be touching it across the globe, if you will. In studio with us, Venetia Walters is from the Nevis Cooperative Credit Union. Mrs. Walters, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Herbert. Thank you for having us here this evening. I am wearing two hats, representing the Nevis Cooperative Credit Union and the St. Kitts Nevis Cooperative League.
So we begin with a light moment. I thought you had no hats at all. Well, anyway, we'll see which one we'll start with first. Sidney Newton is the manager of the Nevis Cooperative Credit Union. Mr. Newton, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo. Good evening, listening audience. It's good to be back.
And we'll be joined via the telephone by Mr. Marvin. Let me see whether I can get the name correctly. Mr. Marvin Thompson of the Police Cooperative Credit Union. We'll be joined by him shortly. But Mr. Newton, Cooperative Credit Union, Mrs. Walters, why don't we take an opening comment from you, and then we will go to Mr. Newton and then Mr. Thompson.
Okay, so good evening to all the listeners to Vaughan Radio this evening. Those of you who are listening here at home in Nevis, those listening from St. Kitts, those of you listening from abroad, it is a pleasure to be here again this year, celebrating International Credit Union Week and our International Credit Union Day, which is on Thursday. So this week we take the time out to speak to our members, to share what's happening at our credit unions, to remind ourselves of the purpose why we exist, and to encourage our members to continue to patronize and to support their credit unions, and to also encourage new members to come on board with the cooperative credit union movement here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So we're here, and we're looking forward to having an interesting conversation.
And Mr. Newton?
Yes, well, it's really a pleasure to be back on Vaughan Radio and on another program discussing credit unions in its annual celebration of International Credit Union Week and International Credit Union Day, which is celebrated on the third Thursday of October every year. This year the theme is Building Financial Health for a Brighter Tomorrow, And we are, as a movement in St. Kitts and Nevis, celebrating with the rest of the world. And a major part of this celebration really is to bring awareness to the work that credit unions are doing in our local communities, in Nevis, in St. Kitts, across the Caribbean and across the world generally. And so we are glad that we have this opportunity, and our colleagues from the other credit unions in the Federation will join us in this discussion as together we enlighten the general public about what credit unions are doing.
Thank you, Mr. Newton. And from the Police Cooperative Credit Union, Mr. Marvin Thompson, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Okay, so you go right ahead with your opening comment.
Yes, good evening to you, Mr. Webber, and good evening to all the listening audience and the fellow panelists from our cooperative movement. Yes, tonight I am, like you said earlier, my name is Marvin Thompson, and I am the representative from the Police Cooperative Credit Union. Now, the Police Cooperative Credit Union serves primarily law enforcement community. Our genesis is that we started out solely with police, but in recent years we have broadened our customer base, and we are now serving members from St. Kitts Nevis Defense Force, the Customs and Excise, and as well as port authorities and others in the law enforcement fraternity. We are geared right now in terms of a growth strategy in trying to increase and expand on that membership base. And this police week, this credit union week affords us an opportunity to showcase some of the things that we are offering. So we are happy for the opportunity to come on the program and share some of those things.
Okay, now I want you to feel free, all of you, Mrs. Walters, Mr. Newton, and Mr. Hamilton, up front to share the things that you would want to share so we can get that information out, and then we can go into a full discussion, a couple of questions that I have, and then if the the person is listening would like to ask a question. So why don't we do it that way?
That's fine, sir.
Mrs. Walters?
Okay, so good evening again to everyone, and I am speaking on behalf of the St. Kitts and Nevis Cooperative League. Some persons, I hope many of you, are familiar with the St. Kitts and Nevis National Cooperative League. The league has been around since 1980, and the early 1980s, and it first started out as the National Apex Organization as the local affiliate to the Caribbean Confederate of Credit Unions, replacing the Nevis Cooperative Credit Union, the CCCU's affiliate at the time. Then in July of 1995, the council was re-registered as the St. Kitts Cooperative and Nevis as the St. Christopher or St. Kitts and Nevis National Cooperative League, with a broader mandate to harmonize, develop, and represent the entire cooperative sector in the country, including non-financial cooperatives. So the league has been around for quite some time, and our primary focus, our primary responsibility is advocacy, to represent the entire movement, to assist our credit unions with corporate responsibilities, to ensure that We are keeping the movement safe. We are abiding by the necessary regulations. We coordinate and advocate for changes to the legislation where deemed necessary. We assist our sister affiliates with any issues or training or development or any technical skills that are required to be able to achieve certain objectives. And so that's what we are really here for. We are here as a body to bring the whole together, basically. And we've been doing that for quite some time. So our membership affiliates are St. Kitts Cooperative Credit Union, Nevis Cooperative Credit Union, Police Cooperative Credit Union, and the First Federal Cooperative Credit Union. This year, as part of International Credit Union Week, we have been doing a number of radio programs to help to inform the public, to answer questions, to clarify any issues, to basically allow the public to become more aware of the movement here in St. Kitts and Nevis and how it benefits the economic stability of our country and how we form a critical part of that whole structure. Because of the COVID situation, as you may hear from some of the affiliates, our activities this year are a bit restricted and a bit scaled back, but nevertheless we could not have not done this celebration this week, as it is part of our member educational programs right across the world, not just here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So, our sister credit unions are also ensuring that their members are being informed, that the general public is being informed, and that we go out and we represent this great movement that has found itself to become very significant to our communities around the world. Just recently I saw a quote by John Hume. He's a Nobel Prize winner, and he's a politician, a well-known politician in Northern Ireland, and he made a quote that basically said that when the banks were not lending, the credit unions emerged. And so the credit unions are significant. We play a critical role in our economic framework, and one of the things we want to ensure is that we are recognized. We are recognized as a significant part of that entire structure. As for over the years, we have been growing in assets. Over the years, we have been assisting our members in obtaining loans for mortgages, for businesses, education, farming, fishing, the overall development of life in our countries. And so we want to continue on that path. Thank you.
But can we now hear from Mr. Thompson? Oh, well, why don't we go with Mr.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, sir. If I would just piggyback a little off of what was just said, that the credit unions play a critical role. The credit unions do play a critical role, while we have other financial institutions at the bank who may have more financial resources. The credit unions are the only institutions where the members are the owners. So that the members, while we benefit from the lending, we have a stake in how those resources are spent. We have a stake in the returns that we get from the credit union. And as the motto for Police Cooperative Credit Union said, our members are our movement. As well, we offer that is why we offer the services in terms of the loans, the special savings, Christmas savings, youth savers, the line of credit, or the mortgages. We do what we can to cater to the needs of our members, the owners of the institutions, the credit unions, that is. So the PCCU, in that regard, that is the primary focus of the Police Cooperative Credit Union. We are here to serve our members, providing financial services that are geared to the needs of our members. It's not just about making money, and I'm not saying that we are not in the business to make money and make profit, but more than that, we're here to serve our members who are our movement. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Newton.
Yes, Webbo, this week is significant, as Mrs. Walters has just mentioned. And the League, while it has a program of activities, the individual credit unions do have a program of activity as well. And so here at the Nevis Cooperative Credit Union, we have rolled out our activities starting on Sunday with church services where individual members of staff actually visited their own churches, made presentations during the service, and also donations to the respective churches. A significant part of our activity has been contributions to the community. Part of our social responsibility, corporate social responsibility, as was mentioned in the news earlier this afternoon, that scholarships were awarded to 3 persons from the Gingerland and secondary schools respectively. Contribution to the social services seniors division, as well as the Pink Lily Cancer Care. Tomorrow, God's willing, we will make a donation to the Alexandra Hospital, health related of course, and more so specifically related to the COVID-19 prevention and control. One of the bigger activities for this week's celebration, is our 48th annual general meeting, which comes up tomorrow evening at 5:30 p.m. It is going to be a hybrid AGM, meaning persons can attend in person at NEPAC as well as attend virtually via the internet, online via Zoom. There must be pre-registration, so I appeal to all of the members who have not yet registered to call the credit union and pre-register so that you can get a link to enter the meeting if you will be joining virtually. We are health conscious as much as the theme is building financial health for a brighter tomorrow. We are physically health conscious, and so Dr. Linton Leiber Jr. has consented over the years, as he was over the years, to do a virtual health talk on International Credit Union Day. That is Thursday, the 21st of October. That is following our President, Mrs. Walters' address earlier in the day. And on Friday is the big day. Most of the members look forward to it. It's our Members Appreciation Day. And we crown off the celebration with a health walk on November the 6th. The reason for November the 6th is because one of our pioneers, the late Mrs. Elvis Dyer, God bless her soul, will be laid to rest on October the 30th, which is a Saturday, when that walk was planned. And so in tribute and our respect for her and her contribution to the credit union movement, we have decided to push the health walk back to November the 6th. And that's our simple program. We encourage our members to join and be a part of the activities this year as we celebrate International Credit Union Week with the rest of the world.
And just to clarify for some persons who may have misunderstood the registration, because some persons would have asked about registering if they're attending in person. Now, you don't have to register, pre-register if you're attending in person, but we encourage it because we have limited space. I think we're catering for 120. So just in case we get to that number, we want to make sure that when you get there, you can get in. So that's why we encourage persons to call the office and register if you are attending in person, but you do not have to register if you're attending in person. That is pre-registering. And we want to encourage all of our members to come out to the AGM, whether you're joining online or in person. And there's some little perks this year. We will be offering some prizes. So whether you attend online or you attend in person, you have a chance to get some prizes. And we may have a few other little things that you might be interested in. So we want to encourage you to come out and represent. Remember, we need a quorum in order to have our annual general meeting. So we want to encourage all our members to join in our AGM tomorrow. Sorry, that's tomorrow? Wednesday? Yes, tomorrow.
Okay, so we've got that information then. It's International Credit Union Week, so it's all across the globe, right? Caribbean and further afield?
Yes.
Okay, now, do we have anything else we wanted to get out up front first before I go into the few questions that I have?
Yes, Mr. Webber.
Yes.
If you'll allow me. As part of the International Credit Union Week, the Police Cooperative Credit Union is also posting a list of activities. We're doing a give back where 5 of our members who transact business with us throughout this week will have an opportunity to win 500 EC dollars. That's part of giving back to our membership. That draw date for that activity should be or will be the 23rd of October. So that's one of the things that we're doing as part of the International Credit Union Week from our end. We're also doing the member appreciation on the 22nd as well. Just to put that in there.
Okay.
Yes, Webbo, and to join with Mr. Thompson to say that the give back, or we call it Lucky Week, is extended to all of the credit unions across the Federation. St. Kitts, First Federal, Nevis, Police, as a joint effort between the League and the credit unions, where five lucky members will win $500 each at the end of the week, having performed some sort of a transaction at their respective credit unions. So it's an opportunity for members to get involved, visit their credit unions, get active, and become lucky. That actually is happening at all of the credit unions at this time.
Yes, it is.
Ms. Walton, Mrs. Walters, you wanted to jump in here and add something?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay. I just wanted to get a bit of information regarding the cooperative credit unions, because some folks in the audience may not get it 100%. It is a cooperative credit union, and when you speak often of its members. So the simple question is, does it serve only its members? Do you have to be a member in order to participate in the services offered by the credit union?
And the answer is yes. It's a members organization. And although we do not use the slogan that membership has its benefits and its privileges, it does. Anyone can become a member, and everyone is a potential member. And so we encourage the persons who are not members to become members. Because the credit union is not just a financial institution. It is very much a social organization as it is financial. But of course the finances is part of the benefits. People pool their resources and they qualify to borrow from themselves at lower rates and lower fees than they would normally have to pay at what we call for-profit institutions, such as commercial banks and other types of institutions. And as the history shows, the credit union came out of difficult times when the ordinary persons, or what they call the unbanked persons, could not access financial services from the formal financial sector. The credit union emerged, and they have proven that they are reliable, they are sustainable, and they continue to work for the benefit of the members for over 100 years.
So that when you, for instance, you advertise, and everybody will hear on the radio elsewhere that you should come to the credit union, they have good rates, they take care of you and everything. The prerequisite is, the first thing that they'd like you to do is to become a member.
To become a member.
And then how you, well, in your particular organization, Mr. Thompson, you can jump in if you will. How do you, what is the procedure, the process for that? Anybody can, you know, in reference to their credit union, it's an open question. Somebody is listening, they hear, they like what they hear about your credit union, they would like to be a part of it, they do want.
Yes. So every credit union has what is called a common bond. And the bond, as the police mentioned, it is for the police officers, security officers, customs, and so on, defense force, and so on. The Nevis Credit Union was, up to last year, saying Nivisions, but we found that there were some legal issues in terms of who is a Nivision. So we had to follow the law, the act, which says citizens of St. Christopher Nevis. So that is our common bond. Anybody who is interested contacts the office, and there are criteria. There is on our website a list of requirements. So, for example, they must come in with 2 IDs, 2 government-issued photo IDs, proof of address, some form of document that shows that they are gainfully employed, a job letter, and things like that. And they make the application. They are checked through the system to see that they are credible. And if they meet all of the criteria, they require, in the case of Nevis Credit Union, $500 in shares, qualifying shares, or we call it membership shares, to start the account. That is the members' contribution to the capital of the credit union, and they gain access to all of the services offered by the credit union.
The $500 that you put in, as you said, for share capital, that is not, that is besides the account that you may have.
Well, it gives you access to an account which is regular savings and other investment accounts.
Well, okay, so work with me. If I come tomorrow and I want to get started right away, and I bring along at least $500, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then when I bring that $500, does it goes on my account?
It goes to your account.
Yes.
It's your share account. The law says that money forms part of the capital. It is not withdrawable, but it is transferable.
Okay, so that's what I wanted. So that $500 is not withdrawable. In other words, I can come back next week and take $200 out of it.
No.
Okay. But if I were to put 1,000, and I come back next week, I'll be able to take out 200.
You have access to 500.
I have access
Five
to
will
500.
go to
so
your
I can-
regular savings account. right?
Okay, so that 500 therefore will be inaccessible for.
But it will allow you to get access to, if you need a loan,
Right.
of up to 20,000
But it must remain there,
Yeah,
at
it
least
must remain
500.
as your contribution to the capital.
Okay. All right. I got that. Hope everybody does as well. And then you can, on a daily basis, weekly, monthly, however you wish, as you would do with a bank, you can go and put your savings there.
Put your savings in and, withdraw at will. And, there are ways and means of doing it. We'll hear a little later on. We'll speak a little later on of some of the things that we plan to do in relation to accessing our funds through.
Well, why don't we do it now?
Okay, so I'll allow President to speak
well,
on
so
that.
while we're on that, so
Yes.
if we want to access it
Yes.
later on, how do we go about it, and so on, and what benefits, the procedure and the benefits?
See, in the COVID environment, we have to be innovative, and so there are some things that we are doing. So I'll let the President speak on that.
Okay.
All right, so for some time now, we've been speaking about improving and upgrading our technology. And one of the things we did, we upgraded our online banking platform to allow our members to be able to move funds more easily, so that they don't have to come into the office to do certain transactions. They can view transactions online, they can do transfers in between of their accounts. One of the things that we have coming up hopefully in the next few months, and we are hoping that this is going to happen before Christmas, and that is to deliver to our members a debit card. We have been working on this for quite some time now, and the necessary things are in place. All of our agreements with the vendors have been executed, and we are just awaiting the final bits to be put in place so that we can have an active debit card. That debit card would allow our members to be able to shop online. You can go to the supermarket, you can pay your bills, and we do realize now that I think it's all of our utility companies in Nevis now have online banking, the last coming on board being Water Department, and that's a very good sign. So, our members can sit at home and they can pay their bills online, they can go shopping, they can travel the world and be able to use the card and have access to their funds. So we are excited about that, and we are really looking forward to its rollout.
How is it working out, the potential you think? Because not all of your members are going to be tech savvy. Are there any challenges that you're facing in getting this implemented?
We don't foresee any challenges. Right now we have ATM cards, so persons have been using their ATM cards at the ATM machines. The only difference is that this card is going to give you a lot more flexibility, so you can use it at the ATM and you can also use it otherwise. So if a member chooses only to use their card for accessing the ATM, it's totally up to them. Or if they want to, use it for its full functionality, that's totally up to them. We will still be open. You can still come into the office. You can still go to the tellers to do your various business. So it's just another option of having access to their resources.
I often see long lines at the credit union. Is that an indication that you have a lot of members, you do a lot of business?
Yes, it does. And persons who actually prefer to come in person into the institution. We are trying to wean them of that habit, and we are hoping that as time passes, that and the technology catches on, that the lines will be shortened.
Okay, Mr. Thompson, you wanted to add something?
Yes, while unlike the Central Credit Union and some of the other credit unions the police credit union do not as yet have that sort of online presence in terms where we, at this moment, can offer our members, are offering our members debit cards or those kind of online services. But as we speak, those are things that we're looking at in terms of providing some additional options to our members, and the COVID environment has made it very clear that that is something that we need to press forward to with some degree of urgency. So that's the things that are on the table in terms of discussion at the moment. One thing I would have liked to mention, I was spoken to by Mr. Newton earlier, when he mentioned the $500 which would have allowed the person to become a member. That money is not just sitting there, but like you said, they're having the AGM shortly. The $500 that allows the person to become a member allows the person at the AGM also to receive some return on that investment of the $500. So it's not like it's just the idle and all it did is afforded to become a member. There is a return. As long as the institution makes money, you make money on that investment that you made. I think that is an important factor that we need to make mention of.
Correct. Mr. Herbert, as Mr. Thompson spoke, I'm reminded that one of the things that the credit unions do generally is to collaborate, cooperate, because it's a cooperative movement. So we cooperate with each other, and we try to facilitate each other. And so we have had the privilege of formalizing some relationships with our sister credit unions and St. Kitts, which do not have offices in Nevis, and we do not have offices in St. Kitts, and their members can do business through the Nevis Credit Union, whereas our members can do business through their credit union, Police Credit Union for one, the St. Kitts Credit Union, the other one. Unlike the First Federal, which has offices in both St. Kitts and Nevis and can facilitate their members. So we encourage those kinds of relationships, and the objective really is to show that there can be seamless transactions for the membership of the credit union movement at any credit union in the Federation, because we have back office arrangements to make those things happen.
The cooperative credit union, it's the credit union, it is a cooperative. And what I must admit, I'm always fascinated by it, and the success and the longevity of it in the corporation, because as you mentioned, it came out of hardship, and to find people are being able to cooperate and be successful for such a long time, where in other aspects of the society that doesn't seem, as to borrow a word that you used earlier, seamless as the cooperative credit unions, because I've have the privilege of accommodating you for a number of years and so on, and always been impressed by the growth and the development of the unions. And indeed that is why I had mentioned earlier that I would see scores of people always at the credit union, and is one place that I see people seem to be unperturbed, that they have to be waiting in a line. They seem very, satisfied, and so on. So that is a plus in basically looking on the outside. But here's a question that I have for you, though. Is the credit union, the cooperative credit union, the largest or one of the largest across the globe in terms of cooperatives? Because you have agricultural
Oh,
cooperatives and so on and so forth.
Yes.
But you seem to hear more
Yes.
about these other cooperatives. So that's why I'm asking the question: do we know if they're the largest or at least among the largest?
yes. The credit unions are called the financial cooperatives. In some countries, they are called credit unions. Others are cooperative financial institutions. Some have emerged into cooperative banks, and generally, what is common is the philosophy of cooperation, and they are indeed very large. The World Council of Credit Unions, which represent the entire credit union movement around the world, boasts billions of dollars in assets around the world. There is not a country where there is not a credit union. However, history tells us that the cooperative movement really started with the farming community, farmers' cooperatives, when they got together to produce and market crops, but found it difficult to raise capital to first of all get the produce from the ground, and so it emerged into a lending, a pooling of resources, from which they were able to make their production and then marketing, and that evolved into the credit union, which is a financial arm of the cooperative movement. Yes, it is indeed very large and, from all reports, very successful. Not for the money that it makes or it handles, but for the impact that it has had on the general population, and especially the ordinary people across the world.
You've been Mrs. Walters and or Mr. Thompson. You can feel free to jump in, if you will, in terms of a response to this question. Why has the financial cooperative credit union seemingly worked where other type of cooperatives in the same society has not?
That's a very good question. I'm not sure if it has anything to do with the nature of the credit unions, where they're more of a financial nature. People always need, people need money, people need access to, financial resources, and that basically that's a huge driver in the building of our communities. I guess farming and agriculture has lost its interest over the years, probably because of the labor-intensive requirements. And so you find out that young people are not really interested in farming. They're those persons who detest it because of our history, the whole slavery history and the memories it brings, the pains it brings, the distaste. And I guess you have persons who still love it. I mean, we still have to eat. There are persons who are still passionate about it, and there are persons who, still use, access agriculture and so forth, and fishing and so forth as a passion. But I think it has a lot to do with perspective, outlook, history, especially among the younger generation. But what you're seeing now, there seems to be a turn of events where we are seeing a lot of young people who are becoming more interested in agriculture and farming, but more on the technical side of it, not where it's so labor intensive in terms of breaking up the ground, but things like hydroponics, those type of modern way of farming and raising animals and stuff like that. So perhaps at some point in the future we might see, I don't know.
But even as they do that though, are they using the cooperative spirit? Because
I think it has to be driven.
It has to be driven.
It has to be driven, and I think that's one of the things with the credit unions. It's driven, and you have persons who are passionate about it. You have the pioneers who stay with the movement until their last breath. You have persons who keep fighting for us maintaining the philosophies upon which the credit union was established. That's why you have the CCCU, you have the World Credit Union Council, and so on all these different levels. You have persons who are, fighting to hold on to the philosophies of the credit union and passing it on from generation to generation. So you find younger persons are being raised with the credit union philosophy. They're being raised as I would call credit union babies, and because they can have the access that they can also get at the regular commercial institutions, there's no need for them to divert, so that's what I think. I mean it would be good to see the farmers and the fishers and so forth
against the backdrop, Mrs. Walters, that I put in, and we are from the same society, the same people. In other words, yourself and Mr. Newton and Mr. Thompson and Miss Keynes and so on, who are a part of the credit union, and it holds together and it's solid. Why can't they? Because they are also involved in, let us say, farming. They have to eat, etc., etc., their opportunities and so on. So why does that one work? And with the same people, the same society, it doesn't work for another area. But you mentioned something which could be very important. The fact that it was builded by some very tenacious persons, and they were able to hold on and continue on. I don't know, but I just found it intriguing. Mr. Thompson wanted to add something.
Let me. I agree with Miss Walters. I think she has a point, but let me speak from a standpoint of actually being someone who has been involved in farming and who is also a part of the financial credit cooperative society. I think it has a lot to do with demand in terms of what is required for the cooperatives. For farming cooperatives, we have some challenges. One is that sometimes you have farmers, and while we are in farming, we don't have a unified view in terms of what should be done in terms of the product. So I may want to do one thing, and that is my focus, and somebody wants to do something else, and we don't see how we can unify that under a banner of a farming cooperative and see where we both can get our products to market by cooperating with each other. And from the onset, that becomes a challenge, a roadblock, because we don't see that while I might be doing potatoes per se and someone is doing sweet pepper, that if we have a cooperative under that unified banner, that we have more power to speak in terms of demanding prices or accessing market, and maybe part of it is education. That not enough is done in terms of speaking to those issues as it relates to farming. We don't see farming as a business that requires business sense and business practices. Whereas it is different when we're talking about the cooperative, when we're speaking to money. We take a different tone when we're dealing with persons' money as a business, as opposed to farming. And like Ms. Walters was saying, there's a particular stigma that still is on farming because we don't see it as a business. We see the work, but we don't see how we can create the business. As much as we patronize the supermarkets and we have huge import bills, we still are not seeing the fact that someone is operating a business and we are customers purchasing those goods, and that we can be the person supply chain that is doing the production. So part of it is education. Yes, some of it is history. And there are things we would have to deal with in terms of how we educate our children. And we don't speak just to farming, but we speak to the business of farming. So when we come to in terms of the cooperatives, we're speaking in terms of the finances and everything else that goes with it. And we might be able to even partner with the financial cooperatives and the farming cooperatives to do something in terms of cooperation among cooperatives to deal with those specific issues.
Mr. Newton?
However, both Mrs. Walters and Mr. Thompson are right on point, because the very same reason why the national apex body was registered as the St. Kitts and Nevis National Cooperative League. It is not a credit union league. The intention was to do exactly what was just said, to bring along what we call the non-financial cooperatives, or the producer service marketing cooperatives, along with the credit unions, to make a comprehensive cooperative movement of both financial and producers. In some countries, cooperatives are stronger businesses than a lot of the private enterprises that we see around. And if tomorrow the members of the cooperatives decide that they would like to form a cooperative that does service, retail, who would be the patronizing persons? The members of the cooperative. And so what will happen to the other businesses? They will get a hit. But that's the nature of our cooperative works, because you serve yourselves through your own efforts by putting in your resources, patronizing your own business and reaping the benefits from your own business. And so whether it is farming, fishing, beekeeping, or even retail, like supermarkets, as some countries have. In some countries there are gas stations. Cooperatives come together, credit unions, and they form cooperatives that deals with retail services for gasoline and diesel and things like that. Anything. And the cooperative is the philosophy. You can apply the cooperative principle to any business.
Right. So that is the crux of my question. You take that philosophy, and that is who the person becomes. So why is Mr. Newton, Mr. Thompson, and Mrs. Walters in a cooperative financial union, but they have similar hardships where agriculture is concerned? We can have sports cooperative, other aspects of life, and the philosophy is not transposed to the other areas.
Yeah, and I think may have been about 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, when we were examining the different sectors with respect to the loans, our loan portfolio. And one of the things we notice is, well, particularly for Nevis Cooperative Credit Union, one of the things we notice is that the agriculture sector is very small, or maybe even non-existent. And so, we have been having discussions as to how can we reach out to our agriculture, farming, persons, and see how we can partner with them. And so I'm sure coming up maybe in the next year or so we'll be looking more closely at that, because it's important. It's an important sector, and we can't allow it to die. And one of the things, as Mr. Thompson said, it has to do with viewing what you do as a business. It's not just a routine, it's not just a hobby, it's not just something you love to do, and that's great. When you can make money from something that you love to do, that's just wonderful. but trying to get our farmers, our fishers, and even as far as, some of our mechanics and so forth, to allow them to see how they can shape what they're doing into a business, and then, form themselves into, like we were talking about earlier, as cooperatives, or, into groups, and bond together so that they can do well in that sector.
We're running out of time, but here's a quick follow-up question. If I am a person who is of a good heart, and I find myself in the broadcast business, and I help people, and I'm passionate, etc., because that's my way of thinking, my philosophy, right? If you transfer me to a different discipline in sports, won't I exhibit the same sort of thing from the goodness of my heart and my thinking?
I guess it will depend on the culture of the organization into which you go.
No, but where you go, if you're a coach, for instance, you got some players, you carry who you are as a coach, no?
Right.
Experience, Mr. Webber.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Thompson.
Experience, education. While I might perform well in financial area, when you transform it to an agricultural area, while I may have the same attributes, I am practically ignorant, or I don't have the same skill set that would allow me, the education, the knowledge that would allow me to perform as well there as I did over there. And what is needed now is education.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's one of the strengths of the league. One of our objectives is to facilitate training and development, not just for our credit unions, but for the general public. And it's something that we're going to be pushing a lot more going forward.
Okay, so why don't we do this? Why don't we take a wrap-up comment from everybody, beginning with Mr. Thompson. Go ahead, please.
Yes, man. I want to thank you first off for allowing us the opportunity, Police Cooperative Credit Union, to come on the radio station and share some points of a talk. I want to invite the members and prospective members of the law enforcement fraternity to come into the Police Cooperative Credit Union and find out how you can become a member. And if you are a member, that you remember to come in this week, lucky week, and benefit from the give back of the credit union. And we'll visit the other credit unions and do so as well. So that's mine.
Mr. Newton.
Webbo, as I mentioned earlier, tomorrow, the 20th of October, is the Nevis Cooperative Credit Union's 48th annual general meeting. And we just want to remind the members that they should make all plans to attend, whether in person or virtually. Register ahead of time so that we can get a good sense of who will be coming in person and what numbers we will have at the time. And also to mention that July the 25th, 2022 will make the Nevis Cooperative Credit Union 50 years in operation since its registration, and a program of activities will be rolled out shortly towards that celebration. So we again put in our members a notice, and we expect to see you there should life tarry. Thank you again for allowing us the privilege to be on this radio station. We hope that our discourse has brought some benefit in terms of knowledge and information to the general public and the credit union members in particular.
Mrs. Walters.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Herbert, for accommodating us this evening, and we want to continue to encourage our members to support your credit unions, to stay tuned, to listen in to the various programs, to become educated, and to become more knowledgeable of what we do, why we are here, and our objectives. It was also a pleasure to get to share a little bit about the league, and also our purpose and our objective. Thank you again, and have a good evening.
We thank all of our guests, Mr. Thompson of the Police Cooperative Credit Union, Mr. Newton of the Nevis Cooperative Credit Union, and Mrs. Walters with two hats. What were they again?
Director of the Nevis St. Kitts Nevis Cooperative League and President of the Nevis Cooperative Credit Union.
Okay, so we thank you very much, and it's always been a pleasure, God's willing. I hope that you come back next year. You've been coming each year, and we're always glad to have you. We learned something else this evening, that there's certain criteria to become a member of the Nevis Cooperative Credit Union. Somehow I miss that all the time. I didn't get that. But anyway, thank you all very much, and a very productive Credit Union Day and Credit Union Week.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You made
This program repeats at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning following the VON News Minute. Join the Honorable Mark Brantley tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock for On the Mark. Thank you all again for joining us. This is your voice in the community, taught that get results.
Builders Paradise is offering a large variety of floor and wall tiles at very competitive prices.